Well, hey y'all, it's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. Welcome. Happy Sunday to you. I want to share today 11 of our favorite fine motor activities. So these are definitely kid approved and teacher approved. So I wanted to share them with you, maybe give you some few ideas because if there's one thing I love kind of sneaking into our day, it is fine motor skills. I want those muscles more than just our swiping finger to be strong when they leave my classroom. So I've tried lots of different fine motor activities. Some of them seem to just kind of be a dud. Some of them really are a big hit. So I wanted to share with you 11 of our favorites from our classroom. And if you have one that your kids absolutely love, I would love you to drop a comment for me and let me know, what are they absolutely loving in your classroom. So I'm going to put up some pictures on this side of the screen so you can kind of see as I walk you through these activities. But many of them, pretty much most of them, just a caveat, I'm usually right there with them, and I'm usually doing this as a small group type activity. So the first one that I have is not that one. Hold on. That is not the one I want to talk about first. It is eyedropper painting. And so simple, just taking some regular washable paint and adding some water to it, which will make it thinner. And so it will work better with these eyedroppers. And I usually will just ask parents to share if they have any of these eyedroppers at home. They're the ones that come out of like the baby Tylenol. And I, have saved some over the years. You could use pipettes or, these are medicine droppers. You could use eyedroppers, whatever you would like. But I love it because not only are they using those fine motor muscles to squeeze the paint up and back out, they are using some problem solving to figure out, oh yes, okay, so I have to stick it in the paint, unsqueeze, right? Squeeze, stick it in the paint, unsqueeze, fill it up, and then transfer it over. So that is not a natural thing for children. These, droppers of any kind and filling them up. And so that right there is already double the muscle that they would be using if they were just squeezing paint out. So fun one, just make sure to water it down or it will not come out of the dropper very well. And we don't, our goal is not frustration. So water down that paint before you do it. Another one that is fun that they absolutely adore is bulb syringe races. And so, those things that suck out the baby's nose, I bought new ones just because I don't know what's in some of those. That sounds gross to me. I'm sure you could sterilize it, a used one, but I bought a new one, not two of them actually, not too expensive. And we will on the table make like a masking tape line for start and then a masking tape line for finish. And so they go down the table on each side. There's two of them, and they will try to blow their puffballs down to the other end. And they, of course, love this because it's a race. And there is some strategy to it, and making sure that you use really small ones if your friends do not have a lot of those squeezing muscles in place, because it will get frustrated if you use those bigger puffballs. The bigger ones in the picture, they're hard to move. And so start with those little tiny ones and then you can kind of work your way up. But they have to get right behind it. There's a lot of eye-hand coordination going on there. There's a lot of motor planning. And so this is a great one. They absolutely love it because they're trying to get their puffball to the end. You wouldn't have to make it a race. You could just challenge them to see if they can get it to the end. You can also change the distance, right? How far they have to squeeze it if you're noticing that they're kind of wearing out, because that's a lot of squeezing of the bulb syringe to make all that air. So that one is super fun and so customizable based on what your students need. I apologize if you can hear my puppy upstairs. She's just mad. She wants to be in the video and I'm not having it today. She's not doing it. So the next one is toothpick structures. And these are super fun, but obviously keep in mind, like if you have younger children, maybe try to find, I found some flat toothpicks in the past. They obviously don't work as well for this, but at least they're not as sharp. These ones that we used this year were pretty sharp. but they did okay. I mean, obviously no blood was drawn. They did poke themselves a little bit, but nothing major. I love using these because not only is this a STEM activity where they're getting to try to make different things, they're also working those fine motor skills. And you can use more than just marshmallows. You can use apples. We cubed up apples into little squares, and they use those to build a structure. You could use jelly beans, gumdrops, packing peanuts if you want to go non-food route, or even small balls of Play-Doh are fun too. Um, the Play-Doh, and maybe instead of toothpicks, using craft sticks for your younger friends would be a better alternative. So they aren't poking themselves, they aren't putting it in their mouth, things like that, as far as the toothpick goes. But my friends handled this beautifully. 4 5s. Some of the things that they were creating were really cool. Some of them, some amazing 3D things. Some of them incredibly well thought out, and this one you're seeing on your screen, just the attention to task and wanting to create this thing that just kept going. And so, little note, if you do this with marshmallows and you let them dry overnight in their little structure just like this, they'll stay together pretty darn well. And so I was actually able to even hang this one you see in the picture up on our bulletin board using some push pins because it stuck together once they were dry. So probably would be the same with gumdrops too, I would guess. Apples, I really doubt that would go very well. And jelly beans, it might work too. This is just a super fun one that you can kind of watch their creativity come alive while also working those fine motor muscles. Another is cleaning the toys. So I get a little toothbrush, a little kid toothbrush. I got a whole bunch free years and years and years ago when we were doing a unit, and so I just kept some back, and we use those. And so I just will get out our new toothbrush, and I will grab some of our smaller toys. Wouldn't have to be, but these are small plastic, and I throw them in a bucket of water. And we talk about having to clean them, everything needs a bath every now and again, and they love it. I can add soap to it. They can rinse them in another bucket, whatever it may be. But I love using the toothbrush because they are really working on getting in those grooves, and they have to, they have to rotate it. They have to hold it in their fingers in a certain way to get some of these toys clean, and they love it. They just think it's so much fun. Like, oh, we get to clean the toys today. Like, for me, what's a chore? For them, it's fun. You never know, right? And so that's a super simple one, especially if it's like a rainy day and you hadn't planned anything and maybe you're stuck inside longer than you want. So easy just to grab some water, a couple toothbrushes, maybe some soap. We didn't even do soap this day, and throw in some animals that need a little washing. And that not only will keep them busy, but they're over there working those fine motor muscles too. So that's a fun one that is super easy. Another one is hole punching. My friends have found a new love for hole punching. They want to punch everything. I guess hole punching is better than real punching, so we're going to go with it. But I bought this reduced effort hole punch to start with. So some of our normal hole punches can be hard. Even for me, I'm like, good gravy. Not to mention the fact that they open too wide, right? And so getting that hand even over those bigger ones is hard. You can find some mini ones. Those are great. This one works wonderfully too because it does close so easily that it's not like prying their hand open as they're trying to line it up. And then the hole itself is a lot easier. Are they still having to squeeze? Well, yeah, absolutely. But it's definitely less frustrating. This is an activity from our fine motor box, winter fine motor box. And so I like to add targets for them to hole punch. You wouldn't have to, obviously. You could just give them paper and, different types of materials and see what they can cut and what they can't. Maybe some ribbon, maybe some, lots of different things, different weights of paper and things. But I do like making targets too, and you could easily do that with those little chart stickers or, anything really. Or even dots on the paper. But I love giving them kind of that target to go towards so they can use some of that hand-eye coordination in trying to figure out how to line it up. So you'll see in the picture that the snow globes are a bigger target than what maybe the penguins are. And so you can kind of get smaller and really make that more of a intensive activity based on what their target is. So they love hole punching like that. They will sit there and punch and punch and punch and punch. And then I later show them how they can empty it. They think it's so cool. We can even use those little hole punches for art projects if we were punching colored paper. Like there's just a lot of possibilities for them. But definitely love it. So look for that reduced effort hole punch. I got mine on Amazon, and I'm telling you what, that is the way to go if you're going to do any hole punching with your children without getting that just frustration factor right up there. Another fun one is the Feed Me ball. This one it's just silly and it's fun, and we can also use it for math, which is super fun. But you just take a tennis ball and you cut a mouth for him about like halfway through the ball. And then I glued him on some googly eyes, and here he's eating bug erasers. He could eat anything, right? He could eat anything. The bigger the thing, the harder you're going to have to squeeze the sides of the ball to get his mouth to open, because when the ball is shut, his mouth is not open. So if you feed him something like coins, then obviously it won't have to open up as much if you were to feed it something like a bead that's more round or larger, right? And so you can definitely manipulate this as well based on how much you want them to have to squeeze that little dude to get his mouth open. And then, having to squeeze to dump him all back out after he's ate all the things. And, great small group activity too, because we can roll a dice and we can count how many to feed him. You could call a color out and have them find something of that color to feed him. There's just so many possibilities that you could do, that you could couple this fine motor squeezing with some academic skills as well. So great fun, automatically engaging. Like, who doesn't want to squeeze his mouth open, right? Just to see what happens. Like, they just love it. So that's an easy one. This one is the toy rescue, but really the star of the show is the water bottle, like squirt bottles and children. When I used to watch a friend of mine and then my little boy together, we would get out the squirt bottles and just let them go outside and squirt any and everything with water. And they were 3, and that was kind of a hard job for them, but they absolutely adored it. And so obviously taking a squirt bottle outside and watering things is just a happy day, right? Another way to do this, if it's not as nice outside, is doing a toy rescue. So just freezing some toys inside just a shallow bunch of water, and then I put warm water in the spray bottle. And so then they can kind of start spraying it and watching it melt and see if they can get those toys out of the ice. And so I would recommend, if you do this, to use a shallower tub than I am using right here in this picture. We had to switch this out to almost like a tray with edges, because as you can see, she's holding the spray bottle up and over, which means the liquid is going down too, right? And so it's hard to use the spray bottle that way. And so I would do it more tray and have them stand. Even if they oversprayed, the table, what's the big deal? But this one, they loved, and it was something that they stuck with, right? Because they wanted to see if they could, get that toy out of there. You could, if you wanted to, freeze them individually in like cupcake pans. Each friend gets a toy in their cupcake pan, and see if they can spray them out. And spray bottles aren't too expensive. Dollar Tree has them. So, we use several. We have several. You could probably even get a class set without breaking the bank too bad. But we definitely have several on hand, because it is something that obviously builds those muscles, and they just love. Like, who doesn't love to squirt things, right? Squirt your friends, not so much maybe on a hot day, but in this scenario, they have a goal in mind, right? And so they're working towards that goal, which is great too. Another one that is super budget friendly is straws and pipe cleaners or yarn. Cutting up straws of different colors into like 1 inch pieces works fantastic. They can thread them. if your children are younger or they are new to threading or struggling kind of with the lining up of the straw and the actual thread, I would use the pipe cleaners because they just hold their shape, right? And so they don't flop on you when you're trying to load them into the to the straws. If your kids knock this out, try some string. I usually tape off the end of the string, so that it doesn't get all frayed, but that makes it quite a bit harder. But it's such a simple activity, and then they can obviously take this home as a bracelet or an ornament or whatever they want, a necklace, whatever it may be. But pretty budget friendly and super easy to do when you maybe just want to have a small group activity, or you could even put this in a center and they could probably do this by themselves, as long as you don't have little ones that you're worried about sticking in noses or something with the straws. This one's just the all-time favorite. I will say, if you have younger children, this may not be for you, but 4s and 5s love this. We had went to some theme park over the summer, and they had a Mardi Gras theme, and they were giving out just massive amounts of necklaces. And we were picking them off the ground and everything else. Like, they were everywhere. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these? And then it dawned on me. And it was like, ever since then, they adore this activity. So anytime we have a parent able to donate things like that, oh my gosh. And so I'll just keep the cut ones. So as you can see here, they are just cutting them apart. They're those cheapy plastic beads, and they were necklaces, but I usually cut them out of the circle first, and I'll sometimes give them little sections based on maybe how long that they were willing to sit. But I'm telling you what, they just keep asking for more. This is one of those activities that they will sit and do for 30 plus minutes straight. And obviously it's taking some hand strength to cut those strings between those beads. And every once in a while we get a little finger owie, which is why I say that might not be the best, because the beads are so close together. They're having to line up those scissors. It may not be as best for our little friends, but man, oh man, it is one of our very favorite activities. And they will sit and they will sit and they will sit. And I know they are working those muscles, because some of them are hard to cut apart. And then I just keep those beads that they made. I just keep them. I've got a collection, and I'll just use them as a sensory filler one year, and it'll work very nicely. But this is just something, I'm just telling you what, if you've never tried it, they absolutely adore it. And I love that they're practicing. Another thing that I have found helpful, obviously, is Play-Doh. We all know Play-Doh play is great for building those fine motor muscles, but I really wanted them to start, to roll into snakes, right? They weren't doing it on their own in my class, and they just weren't. Like, they have tools they can use for their Play-Doh. Many times they're just flattening it. A lot of them had no idea you could even roll a snake. And so when I got out these cards, it was like, well, how do I make him? Like, I don't, because they were struggling that the penguin wasn't one full piece, right? That they could just flatten out. And so I was finding them taking tiny pieces of Play-Doh and sticking it on the card to match it up. And while that's great as well, right? That's one way. I did show them how to roll it, and that was just like game changer. And so now they're kind of using those fingers in a different way to manipulate the dough. And so now they have another technique they can use. But the great thing is these cards encourage that, right? Because you almost need a snake to kind of complete the picture. And so they really love this, and I love that they're kind of working towards a purpose, but not to say that we don't also have free Play-Doh open at all times, like we do. So they can definitely make whatever they want and whatever their heart desires. This has just been kind of a nice targeted activity for our fine motor, for them to roll out those snakes and use their hands in a different way when using Play-Doh. So this one is from the winter fine motor boxes. And so it all just kind of fits in the little tub nicely, which is great. And then they can close it up and someone else is ready to play with it. The last one that I have for you is something they absolutely love. I usually do it during the fall, during some farm or whatnot. But I take my animals and I dirty them. We do this after we read Mrs. Wishy Washy, but you honestly could do this anytime. It's very similar to using a toothbrush to clean the animals. But I found these scrub brushes. So obviously they're grasping in a different way. Aren't these adorable? It's like a pig and a duck. I found them at the Dollar Tree a long, long time ago and have not seen them since. I wish that I had, but you could even get the handled ones where they're going to be using it even differently, right? And I dirty up my animals. I just took some dirt and put some water in it and stirred it around and threw my animals in there, and then they washed them. They had a tub with soap and water and then just a tub with water and then a towel. And so they went through this process, and then I put the dirt at the front of the table. And so, oh my goodness, they would just go down the table, dirty my animal, wash him with soap, rinse him, dry him. And so think about all those amazing fine motor muscles they're using in each one of those steps. And so animal scrubbing was super fun, but you wouldn't even have to do all those steps. You wouldn't even have to make them dirty necessarily. You could just have them clean them. They still love to do that. And instead of toothbrushes, maybe you're using something bigger for bigger animals, like a scrub brush, right? You could even use those scrub brushes that are long and have the handle that's long where they have to go back and forth, right? They could do some of this work outside even. Maybe we're scrubbing the playground and we're getting lots of different cleaning brushes and water when it's warm out and scrubbing the playground down. They love this kind of stuff, and it is, super engaging for them. And it's something they want to keep doing. So we obviously know it's engaging. They love it. But we also see that they are using those fine motor muscles and having to manipulate those fingers, which is great practice for them as well. So those are the 11 activities that we absolutely love in our classroom. They would probably, if I just schedule them all back to back to back to back, they would probably just adore it. But I would love to hear any ideas that you have as well, because I know that the best ideas always come from the teacher next door. So if you have a favorite child and teacher approved fine motor activity that your kids just can't get enough of, please drop a comment. We can kind of make a whole idea bank right in the comment section. And it would be awesome. It would be awesome because we all can try some new ideas that we know that children somewhere in the world already love. So I would love if you would drop me some comments there, as many activities as you want. Share them. We would absolutely love to hear them. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next week. And hopefully your kiddos will be working those fine motor muscles here this week. So we'll see you soon. Bye.